Hola, and welcome to Coffee with Avila. I'm Aviana Lemaire, and today we are going to readdress some of this sex and gender stuff because I have feelings about my last video. And I'm going to tell you why I have them, and I don't know who can relate. I've spent my entire life hiding everything that I can for the purposes of keeping peace and making sure that everything that I address is addressed very concisely and specifically without accidentally saying something that could be misconceived or that I know would be misconceived, because everything in my life, especially an actual issue like the concept of gender, has been hot button for everybody but me. In my last video, let me finish my first point. The way I was talking about it in my last video was a product of me needing to make sure that I am using clarity and talking about my experience. I'm always going to be talking about my experience when I'm talking about things. It's going to edge in there. Even if I'm going to do something like a longer chat video on definition, we're going to get into my experience because that's where I have the greater expertise for sensation and how it functions inside of this brain. Then we get into everything else, all my other research, everything other people are telling me, my friendships, and all this stuff will come in. But when I narrow it down 100% to my experience, I do that so that you know I can only have the experience that my life gave me. Addressing gender, I said how I felt about it in my last video, and I can't begin to express how much that cannot be overstated in my experience. All of my issues have really come down to the actual subject of sex. And this is where it starts to get muddy because all those things have worked in. I just felt like when I was doing this video, it felt like I wasn't the last one. It felt like I wasn't saying anything because, again, things I explained, my experience has not been gender-based. For me, when no one else is in the room, that doesn't even exist unless I'm just questioning things and bringing it into the room myself. But all of my experience have been oriented with something like sex. And then everybody else's concept of the thing makes it interchangeable to the point where it might be not 100% biology based, or it might be 90% biology based and someone brings in their gender ideals, or it might be 90% their gender ideals and 10% biology based. So there are a lot of other things to talk about on the subject, and I feel like I might end up having to do some kind of a series. And after having spent my entire life as an autist who's afraid to say anything because everything I say is wrong, it's very emotional, and I've been extremely unsettled and jittery and bouncy thinking about it because I don't want to release a video that feels like I have no thoughts on a subject that has made my entire experience on this planet. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to have my coffee. And it's basically the same coffee I was drinking last time, except I put a bunch of cayenne pepper in it because, baby, some like it hot. Whoa, I just realized that I put in some sugar and did not put my stevia in. Let me take a break to fix this so it can stop tasting hideous. So I said this before, it's complex. I feel like I said half of this in the last video and didn't close it out. I was saying it's complex, but it's going to be a different experience. And it's not an experience that's expected to be that complex these days, because I am that person who's assigned female at birth, and I identify as female. And the reason why I identify as female is not because I feel I am of a femme gender. It is because I am processing the fact that my body has female features, and that's all I can relate to on that subject. That's what makes sense to me. That's what exists in my day when no one else is in the room. So I consider myself female, and I prefer the term female when I'm talking about myself. You're not going to use a term like, you're not going to call me a woman and have me be offended because I don't know that I'm related to it like that. It's just weird and wonky. I will not tend to refer to myself as a woman or a girl because it makes me uncomfortable. This is a good place to jump into this. The reason why it makes me uncomfortable, I do not know 100%. I have theories. I grew up in a world where there was nothing lower than a female. If you even have a type of person, I have brown skin, and I live in the United States. If I had brown skin and lived in the United States, my experience was going to be a certain kind of experience, and some people will have certain opinions or beliefs or behaviors. However, if I had that with male biology, with a male body shape and presentation, then that behavior will be on a certain level. but somehow it manages to even sink lower and deeper and sink deeper is what I'm trying to say, when you have female body parts, biology, and presentation. I don't know how to explain this, but when it just comes down to having the experience of having brown skin or having kinky hair, there's a lot that has to do with the word woman or the word girl, because there are so many cultural tie-ins with how you're supposed to behave. That's where other people come in. That's a gender-based issue. Their cultural tie-ins and what they put on me. It's just that it connects because they're looking at me and making these judgments because of sex, because of biology, because of what they feel they're registering when they look at my body. This is why, to me, gender doesn't exist, but why it still ends up existing as a portion of my life, because it's coming in from the outside. I have feelings about the terms girl and woman because they always meant something. They meant I had to behave in a certain way. It was so ridiculous to me all of my life. I'm being taught how to act like a girl, but the thing is, I was already a girl. Here's how I thought as a child. I'm already a girl. How can you teach me to act like a girl? By essence of being a girl, everything I do is acting like one. It doesn't make sense. I have a variety of feelings on this issue, and we're gonna see. My situation of unmasking is about to get really off the chain because I've always talked about how I feel like I have ADHD brain and autism brain, and they're both often kind of fighting each other in my energy. You're about to see some of this place when I got up today and started really thinking about this video and this series, and that I guess, yeah, the series that I want to make, without realizing that I had the gall to even do it. I started to get extremely overwhelmed with all of my thoughts. So my energy is going to be all the way up here today. I haven't eaten yet. I woke up and it was all I could think about. So I'm doing this on the fly. So I have to get that out of the way because I don't think that's a part of me that's been seen before. When I get really bouncy and bouncier, I don't even know how to explain it, and I don't know if I'm comfortable or uncomfortable with showing it. But I've committed to myself to living inside of my truth, despite everything. So you're going to see how it comes out. And this subject does make me unnerved, so I might be bouncing even more. I have too many thoughts. I don't know how to conglomerate them. Like this concept right here, my feelings about the sensation of the word girl and woman. I am completely uncomfortable using them with myself. That's not me requesting that you don't refer to me as a girl or woman, because I'm dealing with it inside of myself. I don't have a connection with how everyone else connects with it. I've reached a point in my life where I'm dealing with it inside of myself, and everything else will come from there. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with it. It has to do with tone. It has to do with how it's used. But I think the reason that I have a problem with it is not necessarily because of something that's inside of my brain. I don't believe I'm disconnected from it because of my nature, because the words are extrinsic to my life. They're not about my experience. They're somebody else's descriptive. I don't have a connection to it because they're more a relation to my experience than the actual experience itself. But when I did start realizing I had a huge problem with it as a child and I was uncomfortable, it fell into what then would have been called misogyny, or would have been called racism, because now it's an issue of how someone is treating me based on my skin color, my religious beliefs. So when somebody hears woman or girl, all of a sudden they start thinking things. They expect things. I fit some of those things because I prefer to have my hair long, so that's okay. I'm ticking the box as a girl. I will as often wear a dress as anything else, especially around the house. One piece of fabric I throw on and I'm completely dressed for the day. Are you kidding? That's very easy. I'm wearing my dresses. That's okay. I tick that box as a girl. At some point I decided I wanted to start dressing in and wearing and absorbing and decorating with pink every which place that I go. That's absolutely fine. Now I tick that box as a girl. But you didn't know me when I was a child and I boycotted pink. It was a protest. I had realized that people needed me to behave in a certain way and dress in a certain way. They understood me when I was holding a doll toy, but they did not understand me when I was holding a car toy. And to me, these things were not issues. They were made up issues. They were issues that didn't exist. But I really hated the concept that somehow my love for cars, I was 2 years old when I fell in love with my first Mustang. It's been a lifelong love that's never going away. But that's not something that you are allowed to talk about or that you're allowed to say without getting into this is my generation. When I was growing up, you say it and it becomes a whole conversation. And even if someone's not saying it hatefully, even if they don't think it's weird, even if they don't think you are, what do they say, a crowing hen, that just something is just off. We got to get rid of this sucker. It just doesn't make sense. Even if they're okay with it, you get a little bit tired of always having somebody be astounded by it. Sometimes people are lovingly astounded, and it's not a problem. It's just that I know it's a reaction, and if I'm not in the mood for the reaction, I don't even want to bring it up. So then I end up walking around acting like I'm more interested in the dress in the window than the seriously hardcore earth-rattling Hemi that drove by, and you can hear it and feel it all through your system, but you don't quite know what it was yet, so you're just like, what is that? I need to go see. I need to find out. I want to ask questions. I'd be more likely to strike up a conversation with someone or engage in conversations with someone in a store about a dress I'm not even interested in than to just go out and ask a guy, because it's not done. It's not socially done. Just go out and strike up a conversation with a guy, because that's already, we're just getting into a field of gender-based issues here. The girl is going to go out there and talk to a guy. What is this car? Where did you get it? What's under that hood? What does it feel like when you're driving that and it sounds that way? You can't do that, because somewhere in the world, gender issues have said that if you present with the sex of female and you talk to someone who presents with the sex of male, that you are 100% ready to go to bed. That's complex, hun. I am a certain type of person. I tick some of those Audi boxes where I don't want to be bothered. It's a little overwhelming. Societal interactions that come from an NT perspective are 100% outside of my neurocultural divide. The place where I function inside of comfort, that's not the thing. I don't necessarily want to talk to anybody on a regular basis because the majority of people I talk to aren't going to click with my neuroculture. And so it could become complex in ways I don't have energy for in that day. So I definitely don't want to do it when I know by looking at this person, this is someone who is presenting as male and I'm presenting as female. And now if I just talk to him, it's going to be a whole thing. He might literally think I'm flirting. He might think I'm trying to be seductive. And the whole world is telling, let's face it, I grew up in this generation too. It seems like it's still happening because I'm still hearing people talking about it. Men are being told that if a woman is genuinely interested in them, laughs at their jokes, or wants to hear about their car, she wants to get in their pants. Or she wants them, let's play that gender role out properly, that I want to liltingly wait for them to get in mine. This is not how that works. I like your car. If I liked you, I would not be losing it over your car. I would be losing it over you. But I don't have time to even begin to explain what that would look like on me, because that seems to be a whole other subject that goes in. There's so many subjects on this level. I think I'm just going to keep going and rambling on about this so you can see why I can't address this particularly clearly, because there are so many different thoughts that come up in my head when I think about this experience. I grew up in a generation of girls stick with girls, boys stick with boys. So it's not just an issue now of how you have to dress. Like I said, I tick the boxes well enough because at this point in my life, I've been able to grow my hair out. As a child, it wasn't very long, but people thought it was long. It never got longer than this. It was not good enough for me. It didn't suit my taste, but people thought, okay, she looks like a girl. It's about that long. I wore it loose when I wore it flattened, or if I had it chemically straightened. I ticked the box and that was okay. I got away with a lot of stuff because that's taking place. Because I'm just standing there wearing something that seems to be okay with people. I, again, grew up in a generation where, depending upon the shoes I'm wearing and whether or not I'm wearing pants, people treat you differently. And it's weird because it's not always bad. It's just that it's extra attention on me and people looking at me and people discussing things. And sometimes it's cute, but again, sometimes I'm overwhelmed and I don't want any of it. But I would just, I remember at some point I just decided to walk around. They separate the magazines. You've got everything that's on the issue of makeup and clothing because of someone's imagined gender ideals. Magazines are separated by gender ideals. If they were separated by sex, I don't even think that that's a thing, because to separate magazines by sex, you would have to pay attention to the fact that no matter what body you're born into, you could have any variety of interests. So if they were separated by sex, they'd all be together in one category, in my opinion. I'd never really thought about that before, but that would track because that would be logical. But they're separated by gender. And I have been profoundly uncomfortable in my life because one day I decided, the first time I did it, actually, as an adult, I was so uncomfortable I couldn't even enjoy looking and I had to leave. I walked from the side of the aisle where there was all of the makeup stuff and the girly fashion stuff, dresses and things, and I decided I just wanted to look at something that wasn't that, because that's all there is. It's hair and it's blah 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 blah. I have interests outside of just the facade of what my cells look like on any given day. I like that stuff too, but that's not the whole of my life. Are you kidding? It's a very limited and minimal part of it. I decided to walk to the other side of that aisle. I moved over approximately 4 feet in space, and all of a sudden, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like everyone who was over there got uncomfortable. There was a guy who was over there. He started to get uncomfortable. He's kind of looking like, I don't know what's happening. What do I do? Looking, it just looked like his face. I'm an autist, but I've studied psychology and facial expressions all of my life. I can pick up on this stuff very well because I decided to grind into it for knowledge and survival's sake. It is not because it came to me naturally. It did not come naturally, and that is why I studied it so hard. Why my brain picked up on it, I do not know. Maybe because that's one of my lifelong interests, but maybe because I just would not let it go. And to this day, I'm still working on that and figuring things out. I still have moments in TV programs where I miss an expression or a subtlety and I have to rewind it 2 or 3 times because I'm trying to see what they're really trying to say. It goes both ways. It's complex. But this guy was easy to read. Everyone in the area, and there weren't that many people, which is part of why I was comfortable doing it, suddenly got uncomfortable. And they're looking at me. And they were looking at me with expressions of question like, what's happening? What is she doing? Why is she over here? It was either kind of like a worried, I don't understand expression like this, like what is going on? Or it was just like this guy, he honestly seemed like the most sort of passively unnerved because he just looked like he had no idea what to do. His stance changed. He was switching from foot to foot. He didn't really know what to do. He kind of stopped interacting. He was reaching out. It was every kind of unnerved and nervous marker you could think of, because I went to the side where you could see cars. I don't know how to explain it, but just the experience of everybody's countenance suddenly going weird, and I'm a high empathy autist. Everybody's behavior suddenly went weird, and I felt so uncomfortable that I think I stayed there for about a minute trying to convince myself to calm down, and then I couldn't. And I just walked away. I had to build myself back up to be able to do it again the next time I was in the store. That's a gender experience. But to me, I don't know how to say, I don't associate it with gender because it's just all based on everybody else's construct of it and beliefs of it. I consider that to be because they looked at my body and saw my presentation as a member of the female sex and didn't know what to do with it. So for me, what triggered it was biology. In their minds, it got translated into gender. When I'm saying I don't even understand or feel that gender exists, a lot of people are going to be looking at the same experience that I'm having and calling it 100% gendered, and in my mind it's 100% sexed. So there's going to be crossover here. I don't even know how to address it. If I decide to do a series of videos and continue talking about this, I don't know how I'll address it because I have a million thoughts on the subject. Memories just keep trickling back to me. So I don't know how I can keep them all straight because they're all very frenetic and none of them make full sense. I can't delve fully into them because they all come from somebody else's concept that, once again, does not exist to me outside of them. And on top of that, if I start trying to keep everything in order and tell a pointed, specific story, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, here's how I got from birth to me, I'm not going to be able to even remember all of that stuff because there are way too many thoughts and my mind gets put out of place. It's literally being completely uncomfortable to the core of your soul, in your spirit, in your body, where you feel jittery because you walked from the fashion section of the magazine aisle to the car section of the magazine aisle. And like I said, I fell in love with Mustangs when I was 2 years of age. I've been interested in cars all of my life. When I was a child, one of the things that I wouldn't share with people is I had a set of encyclopedias. And it seemed like a lot of the other people, oh my gosh, it's so cute. We're going to talk about the part of the encyclopedia or the set that involves a hamster. I love myself some hamsters. We won't go there because they're special at the top of the list. But I don't know, a groundhog or a turtle or a rabbit or anything else that's cute. I'm supposed to be in love with that. I'm supposed to be cooing over it. And people who were adults when I was a child, people who were adults would be cooing and then they'd be looking at me expecting me to coo back. People still do this with babies. Every time somebody gives birth to something, I'm supposed to coo myself half to death. I don't feel that way. That's another subject I'll get into. The concept of reproduction. I'll make another video. That's a huge subject. I don't even know what I can say on it, but I'm sure I've got a lot of things to say if I just hit record. I don't work that way. I do not think a baby is, frankly, I'm more likely to coo at a squirrel. When a squirrel runs through the backyard, I coo at it. That's acceptable because then I sound like a girl and people are like, they're like, oh my gosh, there you go. She's always doing this. They accept that very easily. But for some reason, I'm not allowed to I don't know that I'm cooing at Mustangs or Challengers or vintage muscle cars, whatever it is. I don't think cooing is the expression that comes. It's probably going to be more like an exhausted sigh of complete and total pleasure and excitement. The other day, I was sitting right back here on this very bed, relaxing, and I'm watching a TV show and it's decompressing me and I'm relaxing and I'm truly enjoying it. Not just where you turn the TV on to watch, but something where you really are enjoying it on some level that's personal. You want to keep. So I'm enjoying this program and I'm into it, and all of a sudden I reflexively reached over and grabbed the remote and hit mute because I heard this sound, this deep rumbling started coming from somewhere, a growling machine. I can't always tell 100%. I'm not going to claim I can, but I spent a long time listening to cars and I have a tendency to be able to tell a Mustang when it goes by, and this thing hit me on all sixes and started building extra sixes to hit me there too. I was so stunned I felt drunk for the next 5 minutes. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I sat there and I listened for an entire minute or so as it slowly drove away and I could still hear it in the distance. It hit me. I was excited. I don't think I've ever seen the dress or the hair bow that's given me that level of excitement. So it's weird because I'm just talking about my interest in an automobile, but I know that that's part of the gender experience. Like I said, I won't go up. I've never in my life gone up and talked to a guy, or really, it's been very seldom that I've talked to anyone, but for some reason it seems like, maybe for the same gender-based reasons, a whole lot of the time when you run into somebody who's really revving that engine in public, it's somebody who's presenting as male. And then I have to start thinking about, what I said before. I don't want to start repeating it. I start having more thoughts on the subject and they feel new to me, but it'll sound like a repeat on a video. It's very weird. I don't know how I ended up off on this aside, but all of a sudden I'm thinking about clothing and how you're dressed. And people will treat you so differently based on tiny gender markers that I really don't see how it makes sense. Like if I, in my day, going out where I'm just wearing a top, like I'd be out there in a black top. It's not like, bosoms everywhere top. It's just like t-shirt, v-neck, It's like a fitted t-shirt. That's what I like. Something cozy and comfortable. It's not too tight. I like the comfort thing. I like being able to move in life. So I'm just wearing a black top. It's the same thing you would see someone in when they say, I identify as male, and they feel like they're wearing men's clothing. It's basically the same thing. Probably cut a little bit different for my body shape, but it's the same style, color, and everything. And I'll be wearing pants. But if I'm wearing that outfit and I've got on flat shoes, and if I've got on sneakers, because I don't really do flats, I basically like sneakers, I like boots, and I like heels. So I basically was going to either be wearing, my boots are basically, they're all heels. So I'm either wearing sneakers or what I call kicks, or I'm wearing heels. If I wear the same outfit, I notice that people treat me differently, and that to me is a gender-based thing. That's all about them. They treat me differently based on whether that outfit has got flat sneakers underneath it, or whether that outfit has got high heels underneath it. Different people speak to me. I've noticed it. I've been doing this for decades, and they address me differently, and it's almost like I'm more frivolous and lighthearted and approachable, and this is really the thing. The conversation is more, I don't mean that in a bad way. When I say frivolous, it's not like someone's bringing up political stuff. When I'm wearing kicks, we end up talking about political radio. You might get into life issues. People will address the psychology of their children and why they're choosing what they do. But when I'm wearing heels, same outfit, because I had a uniform. So when I say same, I don't mean the same type. I mean I'd be wearing the same thing one day with heels and one day without. But if I'm wearing heels with it, then it's a whole lot of talk about a vacation that's being planned, time with the girls. Someone will share that they're having a birthday and they're talking about how they're going to get their hair done. When I'm in flats, I'll end up speaking with somebody about a really pretty tattoo. I just saw it. I just got to describe it. It was this purple rose that was about, I don't know, this big across their wrist, and it was really gorgeous. But I end up talking with people about that and the intricacies of it and the pain level and all that stuff. I'm always interested because I just want to know. I feel like one person says a tattoo hurts 0. It didn't hurt at all. And the next person says I'm screaming and I was crying and I couldn't stand it and I had to take 15 breaks and have a snack because I almost passed out 3 different times. So I find the variance interesting, and I would love to hear all of the stories because I'm a person who would get a tattoo if I felt safe with it and knew I had the proper design. But this is the conversation I'm having when I'm in flats. And when I'm in heels, again, people are talking about their hair and what types of drinks they're going to have at their birthday party. And it's fascinating because I don't know if they even know that they're doing this, but I've noticed that men are more likely to talk to me. Just in general, strike up a conversation, approach me, or give me, and I'm not talking like the compliment where it feels like it's flirtatious, but men of all ages seem like they are more likely to talk to me at all, to remark, to smile at all if I'm wearing sneakers than they are if I'm wearing heels. If I'm wearing heels, it's like they find me intimidating, which really doesn't bother me if I'm gonna be honest. I don't even have time to start getting into that, but I'll end up getting into it in another video. People treat me differently based on something that small, and the reason I keep talking about the fact that it's the same outfit is because we're not saying one day I dressed in pink and flowers from head to toe. I ran into my desk knocker. It's gonna happen. And I did my hair up in curly cues, and then the next day I decided to just pull it all back in a simple, low ponytail with no makeup, and wear sneakers and jeans and a white t-shirt, a plain white t-shirt. It's not that big of a difference. It's a really small difference, and it's something I've played into all of my life because I'm just trying to keep peace. So I played into the side of me that fit into that personality because that's what keeps peace. I'll put it this way. I know if I'm going to walk into a room where people are going to be of a certain generation, I'm apt to do girlier things. I'm apt to decide I don't want to wear the sneakers. I don't feel like wearing open-toed, high-heeled sandals. I'll put on some boots because I know they have a heel. And if you're wearing that heel, they're going to track you as gendered female and it's going to be acceptable. I'll style my hair in a certain way because I know it's going to be thought of as being softer. I don't know how much I'm doing these things anymore, and I don't do a lot of styling in my hair now because I don't have to, and that brings me great joy. But this is stuff that I did before I knew 100% certain that I am autistic, and before I realized that what I thought of as learning how to be whole and healthy and fit in was really just a bunch of masking, and that's why it was taking such horrific detriment on me. But I would make these choices because I knew from experience what was going to be easier for me. So my presentation at any given time in my life, when it comes down to what other people will process as gender, has most of my life not even been about me. It's been about what I was taught to expect from them. So while it doesn't exist for me in any real way, it exists outside of me to such a degree that it's as if every single molecule that I breathe is combined with some kind of gender expectancy molecule, and it's literally going in and out of my system, because I swear sometimes when you walk into a room wearing the wrong thing or acting the wrong way, you can feel it in the air. I basically feel like it's not true, but it's real. And that will get into more like a manifestational viewpoint. So if I make a video on the difference between truth versus reality, it's probably not going to be on the concept of identity, but it's going to be on this. I don't know. Did I just make some kind of weird Christian Autigender apologetics video without trying? I have no idea what just happened. I'm pretty sure I went rambling 50 million times, but I can see right now that I just hit 42 minutes in recording. We're going to see what it ends up being when I edit it. I'm going to continue talking on this subject. This subject needs more conversation. But for now, I'm overwhelmed, I'm jittery, I need breakfast, and I gotta drink my coffee more pointedly with more precision and decision about things. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give my outline here. My outline, I'm gonna give my outro line. It's my outline. It's my outline. We're going out. I'm outie. Remember to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications when I upload some more. That's about it. Bye now.